What is up? You missed us, but you can't get rid of us. We're back to get some shipped done.
Getting shit done. Happy New Year 2026. Here we come.
Happy New Year. I've got a new drink that I'm going to be testing live. This one's called Handstand Wildberry. You want to know why I chose this one?
Yes.
Because it was $1.
$1. Awesome.
Let's see how the $1 clearance energy drink from Hy-Vee tastes. Let's see. No, it's not bad actually. I was gonna make some sort of joke about it tastes like $1, but no, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't sell well, but hey, I'll drink it. Anyway, all right, so catch us up. So we were on before talking a little bit. You were getting me updated on what you've been up to. You've got a training that you've put together. You've put through some rounds of feedback. Yeah, catch me up. Where are we on that?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so one of our insights from the last year is, of course, it's like, how do we create long-form content that's fun and easy and helpful to our clients that does a couple things. One, it gives us training that actually helps our core clients move forward, so something that they will like. It also gives us something that we can offer to people that are on our list. It can grow our list or get people to pay for us. And like, how do we, like, what's a cool way that we can create content while creating those trainings?
Exactly.
And because that, I mean, like creating a training, a long form content, like it's not just super simple if you want it to be valuable, right? Because like, I mean, yeah, we can create any kind of junk, but we want to create something that's actually helpful. And so the container that we've been talking about is that we're going to have 12 of these over the year. So like one main topic per month. The first week is going to be like 70% training. The second week, at least with my clients, is going to be primarily implementation. The third week is going to be a hot seat for people that have actually implemented it. And then the fourth week is going to be a mastermind where we all share. So the whole idea is, instead of like jumping all around, like people don't need more information, like let's implement one solid system a month. So at the end of the year, we're looking back, we've got 12 solid systems that run for us so that we grow our business without sacrificing our health and relationships.
Love it.
And so this one is how to get referral partners without coffee chasing or awkward one-to-ones. And I'm excited about this because it's what I've taught my loan officers for years. It's what I've done. Like, it's worked. It's what me and you have done. And now, our BNI group has convinced me, forced me, say this will help other businesses too. So, and I'm excited about that. I'm excited to be working with a lot of other businesses. That this, in some ways, it can actually be better because, one of my friends, he sells custom fire pits, and he had one person that was sending him about $60,000 worth of business every year. And I was like, well, what if we use this system to be able to, like, what if we could meet just 2 more of those? Would that be cool? And so what I've done so far is I had a conversation like this with Cassie, my wife, on Monday, where I talked through the project. And then I built an outline. And our friend Taki Moore, he's really good at building a workshop that people use. That's really helpful. I love the stuff that he's got to fill it out, and I'd love to clone a lot of what he does. And so what I did is I took that training, or that transcript, and let's see. I went through, this is kind of what I created. Um, and I'm not, it kind of didn't work that well.
Right.
Um, so I'm going to share my screen here to show you what I got.
Okay, cool. While you're
Share.
doing that, tell me a little bit more about what you did with Cassie. What did that sound like? What was your process on that? How long of a call was it? Um, how much of it? How much of it, especially like how much of it did Cassie need to kind of be aware of the right questions to ask, or how much of it was just her exploring her curiosity? I don't know. What? Just walk me through that.
Uh, yeah, so she did not need to know really anything.
Right.
Um, and I just said, hey, start asking me questions
Right.
that come to mind. So there's no prompting, no specific set of circumstances. Let's see. I did save it through Fathom, so I got the recording. Actually, I didn't. I think I did that one in StreamYard.
Gotcha.
And it probably, I think we talked probably for like 30 minutes.
Okay.
And like I've taught this a lot. So she
And
was
so when you were talking through it, what did you talk through? Did you explain like what you're looking to train on, what the steps are? Like what was the substance of what you talked about?
it was, yeah. So I walked through what the training is going to be.
Okay, perfect.
So it was um and I can share with you the transcript. So I got the transcript, which is always helpful. Um got that. And I don't know exactly what she even asked. I think she just asked like, tell me the process, like what is it? And so,
Right.
I talked about, um, I walked her through it. I'm good at telling stories. So I know to bring out some stories, some examples, customers that it's worked for. I think I talked about uh, my client, Paul Verkoven, how he was able to add 100K in closed business in his first year doing this. Talked
Right.
about how Mark Day added 86,000. Talked about how me and you did that. And
Right.
um, so Brooke knew me and she said, all right, so how does it work? So I said, first thing you do is you invite one person, talk through that, see if she had any questions. Then you do the 6 weeks container and why. And we kind of went back and forth. And for me, it was a whole lot nicer to do it with a person than just AI or trying to think it. Um,
Right.
and of course, as I am, I was kind of all over the board, but I was okay with that because
Right.
then I had the transcript and I sent it to AI.
Perfect. Perfect. And so then the outcome, you said the outcome of it, it didn't work exactly like you were hoping for, right?
Yeah.
What in what way?
So let me share my screen here because it got 80% of the way here. This is where you're a really good finisher. I think we could probably create some really cool AI
Right.
tools to help people like me. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. I think this is it. Um, and so I said, hey, here's my uh, transcript. Help me turn this into like a talking more type training. I gave it the prompt. The goal is to make this a planet, to make it where every 7 minutes they do something. The goal is I want 80% of it to be done. To like even during the teaching, I want them to do stuff. So I like the title. I like the frame. We're not here to learn today. We're here to install a system. That way, everyone that comes to the training can get it installed. And then, of course, the next 3 calls are just for clients. but
Right.
like I want everyone to be able to walk away with that.
Right.
So it did good. It's like, here's the old way. Here's the new way. Um, this is, okay. Um, then, my it broke into steps. So the first thing is like, who do you do this with? Who is a partner that can add that's worth doing this with? And my um, goal is I want it to be someone that's can bring 50 to 100K a year to your business over the next 3 years.
Right.
What I found interesting is I went through this the next day with my current clients, and they had
Right.
just a bunch of questions. And I wish I would have like already had a simple slideshow to show them. I think it would have helped. Um, but it was kind of like, my clients, they jumped in, they asked questions. So like it really fleshed this out because there's a lot of stuff that I hadn't even thought about.
Right.
So maybe there's even a way that we just plug that in. Like we can expect the first time we go through this, like really ask questions, see where people are stuck. Um,
Right.
and like one of the things that I realized was like this is really important. And I've thought about this a whole lot more. You have too, on like who is the partner. So
Right.
like it's not anyone in your sphere of influence. It's not, a restaurant down the street. It is like who is worth spending 15 hours with over the next year, right?
Right.
Like who can actually. So I answered a lot of questions on the call with my clients about that. So it's almost like a pre-training call to like iron out, where people may get it wrong.
Right. Well, and
Uh,
what sort of things came up in that?
so that was one. The default was, I can pick anybody, or, people have seen something like this before,
Right.
and like, so, there's some realtors on the call. So they've talked about going to, going to a restaurant and interviewing them.
Right.
And, so they were jumping to this idea, like, "Oh, I've seen that before." Whereas the like the magic of this is the first call is the easy, that's the invite. But then the next big part is, invite them to the, hey, let's do this every other week for 90 days. So it's
Right.
kind of the 1-6-12. So I think that was one of, like, there was confabulation. I love that word, where they think they know what I'm talking about, but they don't.
Oh, and it's possible that that's something. It's possible that that's something that you need to address in the flow, um, like when you actually go through and teach this, where when you're talking about the who. So like, when I think through any sort of training structure, um, the like this sort of long form workshop style, it's like you're gonna talk really, it's like you have a magic model for the training itself, even, right, where it's like,
Right.
here's your big outcome of what we're gonna do here, here's kind of the milestones, here's the missions, and how we're gonna achieve it. But anyway, one of the
I like that.
one of the one of the things within the overarching structure, so like the planets are like kind of the core building blocks of the teaching portion of the workshop, but the other structure to the workshop is also setting up the invitation into something deeper, where you go over your bigger magic model, and you
Yeah.
say, hey, we work with people who are looking to achieve this. We do that by doing these things. Today, we're going to zero in on this one because it's going to be able to give you a really powerful impact in this way. And that's what we're gonna deliver on this workshop. If you want more help diving deeper into this bigger subject, feel free to drop a message in the chat. I could let you know how you can get involved with our program, where we go deeper into the rest of this, and we're going to be implementing on this process over the course of the next year. Right. So like the technical structure of it, you have that portion. Anyway, one of the next things that you would do, though, diving back into the training, is you would go over that high level of here's kind of the core idea.
Here's everything that we're going over to today.
Yeah.
Is that right?
And so in that process, you're going to be like pre-exposing them a bit to the model of what you're about to take them through. So they might already start having some of that, like, oh, I'm already aware of something like this. So for this one specifically, because people are already aware of it, that might be something that you need to address in the like this step one might not be a step one. It might be well, depending on how you define it, it might be like its own planet of finding and selecting the right person, right? Like that's the first thing that you want to accomplish, is that you want to accomplish figuring out who that is. And so you want a old way, new way for that. The old way is that you talk to anyone and everyone that you feel like might make any level of sense. But the new way is talking to the people that can consistently and reliably bring 50K to 100K more to your business in the next 3 years. And that's not everybody. That's not the local restaurant. That's not these people. That's not the ones that in this digital mayor sort of concept, like that are going to do that. You have to be strategic if you want this to actually work out. And if you've ever tried this before, you probably know why those other ways don't work. Right. Anyway, so like that might be literally in the flow of when you're presenting this, that you're bringing them into alignment of, oh, this is something new. This is something different, because you call out what they're used to. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. What's different from other similar things?
And so when we think through, so like the planet model is a good way to think through this. And it's the same teaching framework that I've used basically for years at this point, the what, why, how, now. Within any of those, there's the question of the problem, the philosophy, the process, and the proof kind of goes into all of this, and it goes into each step. So it's fractal, right? It goes into each portion. So part of what you could do in your conversation as you're developing out a training like this is looking to answer those questions for each of them as well, to say, so like philosophy, the key thing for philosophy is what is everybody doing normally, or what is typically recommended, or what is the accepted common practice or the strategy that people may already be aware of. And then where do I differ? Why do I disagree? Why do I draw a line in the sand that's different, right? Because every step of the way, you probably have that nuance, and it makes sense to pull it out for each and every segment in there. So you have like your high level philosophy of here's what I do that's the same, or here's what I do that's different, right? Because you don't need to call out what you do that's the same.
Right.
You only need to like, they're gonna have the context of what they're used to. You only need to call out where you disagree. And so yeah, so in that process of discussion, those are definitely the areas that I think you could flow through. What else did it?
What are the P's again?
So it's problem, right? And I would think about them in this order, because I think this flow really helps to build kind of from the ground up, right? Because the problem is it's problem or pain, right? So it's what are you experiencing now that you don't want to be, or what's the struggle that you're dealing with that you want to overcome, right? So you talk through that at the high level, and what are you trying to achieve? What's the typical problem? What's the pain that's causing? And there's lots that you could dive into for that. Then you have the philosophy, and the philosophy is what's typical and why do I disagree, right? Or what do I think that's contrary to what's typical, right? So that's your diving into into that portion. Then you have the process, and the process is, okay, now that we understand what the kind of what the pain of the problem, which also points to the solution, right? So because you have the flip side. So when you talk about pain and problem, you're typically also going to automatically be talking about some level of what the solution is, what to do instead. When you talk about philosophy and what's typical and what you disagree on, you're sort of diving deeper into that solution as well. But the process is like, okay, we're not just dealing with theory, step by step. What do you actually do? Where do you start?
Yeah.
What do you do next? What's the next step? And by going through that, it forces you to think through in an action-oriented way, which is what's necessary for a training or workshop to actually feel tangible and for people to get something done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then the last one is proof. And I guess proof doesn't necessarily need to go at the end, and part of it could be integrated throughout. But proof is essentially, it's the, here's the problem, here's the belief, here's how you do it, and here's why you should believe that you should actually listen to me, right? Here's my examples, my stories, and in that zone, something that's worth noting is that if you don't have your own stories, you can go out and leverage research to help back up your gut instinct, right? Long term, you want to move toward having your own stories whenever possible, because that's always going to be more powerful. But in lieu of that, you can get research to back you up. But anyway, does that make sense?
Problem, philosophy, process, proof. Those 4 things. Is that right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that does. And so some of my insights as well, going back to this, is that I think if I would have just had this on a slide to keep that in front of them, I think it would have helped, like clarify that. I think one of the things that Taki does that's really, really good is how visual everything is. Visual and clear. One of my biggest weaknesses is I'm a thinker and I'm a talker and I'm an inventor. And so I don't do much with tangible, but I feel like that's 90% of what people need to be able to get it. That's one of the things that Steve Jobs was so good at with his presentations. One word or one picture, one concept on a slide. And so I think that is really, really important about creating a great long form presentation. Tyler, what he would do is, he would just have one sentence for each slide. That way it's at least visual. People see it that way. And that could be, if there's nothing else, at least just have, one word, one concept for each slide so that people can visually see it. It'd be cool if there was, more, but even if it was just that.
Right. Yeah, I think that can be useful. Something I'm curious about. So you're like, when you're saying that you didn't get out of this what you're looking for, part of it is it wasn't as clear to the people that you presented it to going through it that way, right? That was part of what you saw. Okay. Is there anything else that, like, in going through that process, that you didn't get back what you were looking for?
So my goal was for them to have like a plan, like to actually like have a group of people and know exactly what to do so that next week we can like dive, like see what worked, what didn't. And so I think the biggest thing is I think I need some kind of presentation so that, for example, like another thing is, I'm going to share my screen again here, is to actually like show them, hey, all right, so the first thing is actually break it out and have an exercise. Hey, who's, write down 5 real names of people. I even like this, ask 10 people and, mark out who can't move the needle. Like you need 3 or 5. So like actually have that on a slide. Like, all right, next 2 minutes, here's what you need to do.
So,
and then
scroll up to that. Let's look at that. So who is this actually? So only invite scroll up further. Let me see the context flowing into that. Okay, so core model, we're not here to learn today, we're here to install. Okay, simple model, draw this live. Old way, coffee, lunch, golf, pick my brain, months chasing, that's not a system. Okay, scroll down. New way, your method, interview authority, repetition, trust referrals. Okay. And then who this is actually for. If this, yeah, okay. Only invite people who could realistically. So is this GPT? Is this what is this GPT designed to do? Or what is it?
So this is just the clients 3.0, and I said, hey, look up the planet training from Taki, and so it's to build, like, I just said, all right, let's build a, let's say, what did I specifically say? Here's a group training I'm doing. Help me convert this into a training that will get them 80% of the way there today. So, I had them look, hey, how does he do his trainings, his satellites? And so that was the goal. Very, very rough.
So part of the way that I found with AI that tends to get me the best results is really understanding the skeleton and the scaffolding of what needs to happen, and getting really specific with each zone. That's what gets me the best results. Sometimes I get good results with just like a high level, but very often, like, my flow would be, instead of doing it all in one thread like this, what I would probably do is I would say, look through this, and what I want you to do is extract out how to do a workshop. I want the planets model, I want the flow of the workshop, and I want you to give that to me in a well-structured, concise, document, as if it was written by Taki, right? Like, so that it has that full context. And then I'd take that and have that plus your transcript as the context that you're giving to a new thread. Yeah. Right? And then typically from that, it's able to do I feel like it's often able to do a better job. Claude especially tends to work well that way. ChatGPT, like, what it has going for it is that it's well known. You can create GPTs that you can share with people. I am just always disappointed in the outcomes compared to when I take things into Claude. And sometimes Gemini at this point. But anyway, but that framework of, like, I want something that's like the DNA of exactly the right thing to do, to be very clearly focused on this task. And then I iterate over the steps in separate threads. So I go from, here's the input. All right, here's what I want. I want a well-structured document this way. And then I take that document plus the context. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that might get you good results. The other thing that I like to do as well is I like to go from kind of the same way that you flow through a training is my typical process for how I think about building out a training, which is I start high level first, right? I say, what is the key outcome I want somebody to have from this training, right? But they go to training, where do they end up? Okay. Then I start looking at, now what are my steps to get them there? And I make sure that I have that. I feel like that flows really well first, where it's like, I have name of the training, key outcome, here's the steps to get there, and kind of what they look like. And then I go through and I start saying, okay, now let's actually start fleshing those out, right? What does this process actually look like? What are my steps within it? What's the pain or problem, the philosophy, the process of the proof for this specific step? right? And I go through and like I'll go through and I'll think through that. I'll talk that out. And each of these steps is part of where I iterate typically with AI as well, where I'll get it to that point and then use the output as the context in a new thread to say, okay, here's what we got. Now start fleshing out the lessons, right?
Yeah.
It's like here's the outline of what we're going to cover. Here's a template of what each module in a training should look like, and here's the transcript. Start fleshing this out, and also tell me tell me where my blind spots are. Where did I not give enough information? Where could I potentially dive in deeper? Anyway, I don't know if any of this is helpful. This is just the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I heard you say is, say, all right, here's the goal. Here's the high level outline. And then you go individually, like drill into the first of the high level, then drill into the second.
Right.
After like giving, and starting with a fresh context, like you take the whole thing and build, like, hey, here's the prompt for this.
Right. And there might be a little bit of overlap context, but I'm intentional about that, right? Like my goal is, so like in Claude, at this point, I might have it add things to memory or add things to the knowledge base of that project. But like that's going to be a high level distilled. Like here's the overarching project that we're working on. Here's like key details about who I am, and like it's high level stuff to kind of keep it in the right general zone. But it's not just a data dump of everything. It's so that I can better leverage the context window, right? So that I can do that. And then the other thing is understanding like the flow that seems to work best is when it's really clear on what specifically it's executing on, right? Where like, here's the task. Let me go out and execute that task. Part of why I think tools like OpenCode, part of why I think they work well is because it allows it to break a task into those separate components and then execute on them separately, right?
Yeah.
So it's able to keep that working flow. But if you're not using something like OpenCode to execute on this, then breaking those processes out separately tends to get a good result. So like any step in this, like I'm always looking to extract what is the template or the framework that I could say, hey AI, here's the context of what you need to do in terms of like, here's the template, here's the right way to do this. Here's the context that I want you to make match this framework. Right.
Yeah.
And that's where I'll throw in like the transcript for that. Right. To say, here's what you need to actually flesh this out. And I separate those. So like I'll as a for instance, I'll go to like Taki has a video as well where he talks about the workshop model and the planet model. Like he has a video on YouTube detailing that. So I'll take that video. I have an AI flow where I take that video, I turn it into a clear, detailed article. And from the article, typically I'll develop out like a template of what it looks like. And then I'll take, instead of the full transcript, I'll take the article or the template as the context that I then use with the transcript. But I don't try and do it all in one flow. I extract out the distilled ideas. Does that make sense?
Pieces. Yeah. Pieces.
Yeah. And that seems to get me the best, most consistent, reliable results. Whenever I do that. So one of the things that I'd be interested to see, do you have the transcript? Could you send me the transcript?
Yeah.
You can throw that to me in WhatsApp.
And I'm going to send you two of them. One is the one that I did with Cassie, and then the other is the actual kind of beta training that I did yesterday.
Okay, perfect.
And yeah, so what I like that thought of breaking it down like that. And the reason we're going through this is our goal is to make this something that our clients can do really easily, right? We're like they can have a conversation, and we build most of this for them or for ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let me share my screen, and I'll just flow through this process live. Allow. There we go. No,
We're getting shipped done.
We are. Okay, so here I am in project. So what I want to do, there's a couple of documents that I would leverage. So I'm going to throw both of these in here, and then I'm going to actually. Are you okay? Can you hear? Can you see my screen and everything?
I couldn't. I was seeing my screen, but I can see yours now.
All right, let me pull you down here just to make sure that things keep running right. Okay. Let me productize your genius. Let me see if I can find this file. I think this is the one that I want. I think this is the one that I want. So I'm going to open this one up. All right, let me try that again. There we go. Okay. So I have like a full flow for this. Please run through the productize your genius worksheet based on the context of the transcripts. How long were these transcripts?
Like 30 minutes and an hour.
All right, perfect. I think those should be short enough that this will still work. So the productize your genius worksheet, what it does is it basically does that same flow that I just talked about. So it kind of puts yourself in the frame of mind of who you're speaking to, starts looking at the outcomes, then it orders them, then it starts like renaming them into a clear process. But I found it to be a good, useful starting point to imagine the flow of what I'm doing as like a clear IP. And for me, at least, when I do that, it helps me to visualize the flow and potentially detect gaps. So I'll show you that. It does not understand how to spell Verkoblet, apparently, from the transcripts. Because it just said something about ver or something. All right.
This is super detailed.
Indeed. All right. And it's creating the documentation. Okay, so here's what we end up with. So we can read through all of this. Sometimes this is useful. But what we end up with is like this flow where it sort of looks through what you talked about and gets to the point of clarity around what are the outcomes that you end up with, and it tries to narrow them into the top outcomes, and then it orders them, right? So the ordering them is like what's the ideal flow. So this is what Yeah, so order, then refine. So the refined steps, I don't remember what it's doing in the refined. I'd have to look at the wording of what it says. And then brand. So refined step names, clear outcome focus verb first. So these are all the same ideas. It's just refining the language around it, right?
Gotcha.
And then it's trying to give it a name, right? And it's going to select one of these, but you don't have to go with it. It likes the partner pipeline system.
Gotcha.
And strong alternatives would be the silver platter method or the 90-day partner path. Okay, but it also gives us these others. And then the process is pick, invite, evaluate, build, install, receive, is what it says. And so those processes are pick your 100K partners, invite to a value first interview, evaluate for fit, build trust over 90 days, install your monthly rhythm, and then receive silver platter referral. And that's what it's defining as the system. Each one of these would become like one of your core modules in the training would be the idea. I haven't fully, like, I mean, we've talked a lot, so I know the overall system, but based on what you described, how does this feel at a high level? Is it missing anything? Have anything wrong? Is it missing sub steps that you think are important?
I mean, that's perfect.
Perfect. So, yeah. So I mean, in your original flow, did it detail this? Did it already detail this as like your first thing that you want to teach? It
is. Yeah. That was step one. That was the only invite people.
And how does this compare? How does this compare to what you ended up with in terms of, like, do you like what you got before better, or do you like the flow and clarity of this, the naming of this? What, just tell me what your thoughts.
I think it's much more detailed. Yours is. Like, I think that's a great first draft. So one thing that it missed is, like, there's just a lot of questions that people have on each part of this.
Right.
Like, pick 100K partners. Like, you got, the old way, the new way. Then you got invite. The main thing there is, exactly what to say. And then I guess one part that's not in there is how to structure the call. Like that wasn't in there.
Right.
So maybe instead of evaluate for fit, it's how to structure the call.
Right.
Because really you're evaluating people every step of the way.
Right. Well, and so there's a point of view. There's a point of view in this that sometimes it gets right, sometimes it doesn't. But the idea of the steps is this outcome focused is an important part, right? Where the whole idea is you're leaning heavy into what you want as a result of this. So, like, they don't want necessarily to structure the call. They want the outcome that properly structuring the call does, right? So it may or may not like be another step that fits in here. But anyway, okay. So, but where this fits in the process is this is largely like the high level outline. And then from here, what I would do, so like there might be here, just a second. Let me see if Crisp captured this portion. Yeah, it looks like it did. All right.
Is this the first episode? No, this is.
No, that's not the right thing. Let me see.
Like, I could see where you say evaluate for fit. That's where, like, that could be like, hey, here's how the conversation goes. So that could fit there once you've explained it.
Right.
You know, because I mean that's what it is. Like people are going to ask me, all right, what do I say on the call?
Right.
Which is how you're evaluating the fit. Then if you like
Right.
it, you do the 90-day container. Um, then if you like it, you invite them to, you know, consistently over the next year,
Right. Right.
whether it's
So here,
monthly
just
or quarterly or whatever.
right. So one of the things that Charlie actually here, I'm gonna use Whisper for this just a second. No, I might need to start it first. There we go. Oh, it's getting started. It's getting started. All right. Here we go. Is it gonna work? Check, check, check. I don't know if it's working or not. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, it may not work. That's okay. All right. One of the things Charlie mentioned was a part where we need to teach the actual call flow as well. Where do you see that being handled in the current process? Or do we need to add a step?
Now it's oh,
Which feels like a better fit for you. So add a step that's interview or connect between invite and evaluate. Expand invite to invite and interview. Support under invite. Yeah. So I mean, these would basically be the same point. Does it make more sense to expand what invite is designed to teach or to add a step?
Evaluate could either be interview, like, or just like we could teach the interview in the evaluate section. I don't think I'd add an additional step. I mean, I think it's fine. Like once you explained it, I mean, I think evaluate could just be it. You know, I think that would be fine.
All right, perfect. We're going to add the interview process to evaluate. Actually, for sake of the flow of the process, can you give me a one sheet? And of the names, do you like any of these? Do you want to go with something different?
I mean, I like the referral partners without coffee chasing or awkward one-to-ones. Referral partners without coffee chasing or awkward one-to-ones.
Awkward 1-2-1s.
I shared that with our friend Cheryl
Right.
earlier today, and she's like, "Oh my! Like, I want to come to
that." Love it. Can you give me one sheet, including the idea? Yeah, one sheet describing this training, based on the context you have and the refined process we've come up with and call it. So something that can be useful, by the way, it depends on how you do it. The way that I like to leverage something like this, referral partners without coffee chasing or awkward one-to-ones, I like to have a name that is, this doesn't necessarily matter, but I like to have a name that's like, this is the shorthand idea, and then the tagline makes it clear. Does that make sense? Where,
yeah,
and the reason for that is like, it
Hey, Matt,
gives-
Coleman, we gotta leave here
it
in
gives
10
your
minutes. Yeah, well,
brain
get your
like
stuff together. My stuff is in
the container to store it in, right? Where you have a complex idea stored in a simple container, right? And so whereas this title is really clear on the outcome, so you want to leverage it, but it might be hard to be the distilled container for the brain to hold it in as you keep referencing back to it. Does that make sense? And so like, I don't know, it may or may not matter, but that's the way that I typically think of something that very clearly conveys like the full offer. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Okay, cool. Call it one-to-one. Include who it's for, why it matters, the key problem it's solving, why it's different, why it matters, key problem solving, why it's different, what the process looks like, and the outcome someone would walk away with. Yeah, so this idea of getting a one sheet, this is really the outcome that I typically look for something like this. Where I want to turn this into like, okay, now here is the thing that we're doing, stated from a high level, because really that's ultimately what you need to sell it. And then everything else starts to become how you flesh it out. So let's see how it
Okay.
does.
So as you're doing that, like, how can we 80-20 this though? Because the goal is like, this is something that we can do quickly each month, to get it done and like get something that works well. Like we're not.
So the way that I 80-20 this, I mean, at this point for me, how we do it for clients, I'm not sure. But what I do is everything that I'm describing here, I have documented out in documents in Obsidian that I point open code to, and it runs and executes agents to execute each step of this process. So I'll give it a transcript and get back all of this stuff with a quick, that looks good, that doesn't look good, fix this, perfect. Now we're on to the next thing, and it executes on fleshing out the planets and all of that. And typically I'm able to, at this point, I'm able to get back the thing that's 80% of the way there. How we do that with GPTs, I'm not sure, because they don't tend to be good enough. So yeah, so I don't know exactly how to answer the question for you. I know for me, this is something that I can execute on. I take the call and I can run it through my process and go really far, really quick.
Gotcha.
What is it doing? Oh, yeah, I didn't say markdown. It's executing on it as like giving me the design. Here a second. Let me fix that real quick.
So I feel like my biggest bottleneck was actually like the simple visual more than the teaching. like I feel like if I had like the simple visual, that would have helped click it in. You know, for example, like I mean, I've got plenty of text, and like I can talk about it all day,
Right.
but like the idea of like here's the idea, you know, here's what not to do, here's what to do, now do it. Here's the next idea, here's what not to do, here's what to do, now do it. Because I think uh, like I almost feel like this is like the goal, like my goal is that they'll be able to like actually have time to do stuff. I don't want it to just be teaching. I feel like a lot of times AI is just way too verbose.
Right.
Um,
So what, I mean, again, part of what I'm looking to build out here. Let me grab that referral partners training one sheet. Okay, so then from here, what you want, and here, let me go into Obsidian because I have a Taki training on planets.
I wonder if I just need to install open code on my server and run that in the background through the SDK.
Yeah, maybe. Because yeah, I think you can. I think you could map out like the logical flow, or whether it's open code or even like an innate end process. Like, you know, it there's a number of ways to execute on it, but like this it's not there's a high level of thinking through this process to get to that end result, I think. So let me see, planet Taki planet.
Woo!
Word like coaching, talking more.
I need y'all to get inside. Alright. I need y'all to get inside.
Yeah, I'm not seeing if I have it, if I already have a sheet for it, but it's the like that would be my flow though. That my flow, because like what I have right now, what I have right now is here, let me show you. So long form framework. Yeah, so like in here, we have the same process that you're talking, or a similar process that we're talking about. This one is designed to create something. Come on, let me grab. There we go. This one's designed to create more of like a long form, like a YouTube video style, but it's the same concept where what I'm doing is I've mapped out. I want you to have the hook, the credibility stack, the acknowledged skepticism, qualification, disqualification, and it's going to build it out point by point. And so it deploys on this in order to execute on it. But and the same thing, like, because like this concept, the straw man setup, the killer analogy, that's what those concepts are the same kinds of concepts that you're talking about with the planet, where it's the problem, or you know, the old way, the new way, etc. But having that as a here's what the planet is, and here's the document that explains what that is. Now take this transcript, this flow, this idea of what a planet is, and start building the planets for this based on the transcript, is going to get you. Does that make sense? Like, that's going to get you the better outcome rather than all in one saying, go through the transcript, find out what the planet is, then take this transcript and does that make sense? Like that's the key difference.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think my typical flow would be you start with a conversation. You start with a conversation where you're going through the pain or problem, the philosophy, the process, and the proof. Then the first step is from this extract that system, and like essentially that one sheet that's kind of the overview of what we're going to do. And then from the transcript plus the one sheet, you go to the next step of like you don't need to go through and review all of it. You could, as long as you could go to the bottom of it and essentially say, here's our process, here's the outcome, right? With that and that one sheet generated, now go through and start mapping out each of these into a clear, okay, what's a good visual for this? What's a good metaphor? And it starts going through and doing that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The key is having, like, knowing what those elements are and only giving it the context that it needs, right? It needs to know what's the right way to do it. Here's the context that I want you to build from, and maybe a little bit of guardrails around extract from this process, right? Where instead of having to build that overview and that flow, you build that overview first, and then you leverage the overview plus the the planet builder in order to actually execute on building out each lesson for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what's your insight from this? I mean, because we're both wanting the same thing. So what did you get from this?
So I think there's a few different things, like to me, there's aspects of this that, like, if you like, you run this process like a doctor runs a consultation, right? There's portions where part of what you need to know is you need to know what information you need to get from somebody to have all the raw DNA to then be able to do whatever you need to with it. For you personally, you are like, well, yeah. We might be coming at this from a couple of different ways. Let's make sure we're on the same page. So the goal is to be able to have a conversation, right? Because that part feels natural. Have a conversation and end up with the training that you could do for a workshop, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the flow for that, one of the people likely needs to know which questions they're answering in order to be able to approach this at a high level. And there's the first round through, you're going to at least get something that at the basic level captures kind of that big goal, that big journey, and some level of the steps. That's going to fall apart partially as soon as it hits people actually interacting with it, because that's going to reveal where you weren't clear and all of that. So I think that's actually a good step. I like the idea of, like, kind of doing exactly what you did of you start with that conversation. I think we might be able to refine the flow so that you get closer to the ideal outcome before you present to people. But presenting that flow to some sort of group, right? If you need it to be, it could be literally, that's like you do a paid training and that's what you're presenting, and you're just going to get a lot of questions in there, and you're planning to do it as a rough thing. I think that's a great flow. If you've got a group of clients that you could already present to, then great. You do it to them, and then potentially you've refined it a little bit before you try and sell it, right?
Right.
I think you take that conversation, and you use it for insights to say what was missing. Do I need to restructure the flow? Do I need to do something to clarify this? What concepts weren't clear? And that might be another iteration on how you refine things. But yeah, I think the key things that will make this clearer is, one, having that planet documentation like its own thing that you could feed into AI to say,
yeah,
here's the purpose of what a planet is. Yeah,
here's the theme and the template. And then I guess the next part would be really like, all right, like have a different theme or template for like, all right, like what should be on the slides. So they're simple slides, right?
Right. And you don't necessarily need a template for that. Like you might. I have found that is the kind of thing that I've seen AI is pretty good at. If I could say, like, here's the detailed training, right? That includes basically everything. You're like basically the script, right? Like here's the script of what I would flow through. Take the script and turn it into slides that have one idea per slide. Like that might just be as simple as a prompt, right? It's not necessarily a template. And we're like, because it has enough context to say, okay, what would make for a good slide? And as long as you define that, where you say like a good slide only tries to convey one idea at a time. More slides is better than cramming information onto one slide. That might be the right zone where like you have it build out the script for the planet, but then separately say, okay, now I want you to build out the slides for the planet. So these are the slides that should exist. And then, it depends. So like the way that Taki does it is he has like his slide structure is the old way is you have a like Max takes up like 2 lines title with an image on the back to represent it in black and white is how he does it. And then the new way is another Max 2-line title, image on the back representing it, typically tied to some sort of visual metaphor in color, right? Like that's the way he does it, right? So if you have a script that's sort of saying, here's what I'm talking about the old way, here's what I'm talking about the new way, it could recommend or generate that image, that title, but it would be on you to actually talk through old way, new way, right? So it's and I found it's different for different people for what they need. Like it's a skill to be able to flow through slides like that and convey the content in a coherent way. Some people need literally just verbatim. They're going to read through it because that's the way that they need it to get through it, right? So there's a little bit of variance there in terms of what you could do. So that anyway, that's a potential obstacle. But to do it most like Taki, what you would do, I think you would go like my flow would be initial conversation where you know the questions to ask, and you make sure to go through and dive into that fractal level of the pain, philosophy, process, and proof. From that, you extract out the high level. Here's what it's called. Here's the key thing that we're solving. Here's the process. Essentially, extract out that one sheet, right? Here's the simplified version of what we're accomplishing. And you want to dial that pretty well before you move to the next things. Because it probably would be good to kind of use the magic model template, right?
Wouldn't it? Like, here's the goal. Here's the 3, 4, 5 steps. The less, the better, though. And then here's the obstacles. That's really a kind of a cool way to roll that out, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, because I mean, like that concept of having it be fractal, is really powerful for sure. And then so then you have that at the high level where you can explain here's what we're doing. And then from there, I'd take that plus the planet builder and say build out the planets, right? I'd take that. Well, really, I'd upload 3 things, but now I'm giving it more clarity on the context, right? Like with the the magic model of the training and the planet builder, and then still the same transcript that you did before, you're sort of like, you don't need a new transcript, but you're giving it the guardrails to say, here is the right way to interpret this transcript, right? Like
Right.
where you've sort of put the clarity into it to say, here's the steps in the process. Here's how you need to think about this. And you're not just letting it figure it out. You're saying, here's how you should go about this, and then have it build out the planets. From there, it's probably going to be able to do a much better job doing each of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. If you find that planet training, share it with me. I'll look for it as well.
Yeah, I could grab it. I know I created an article off of it. I don't remember what the training was called, and it's not. I'm not finding it quickly. But yeah, so I could grab that. It was one where I was talking about the video itself was actually about doing workshops and why free webinars are a waste of time, and in there he talks about the planet builder concept as well.
Gotcha.
But yeah, anyway, I think that flow would result in a well-structured process. The other aspects that ultimately need to be added into it as well are what I would call more the strategic aspects, right? So you have when you're doing that sort of long-form workshop training, you have not only like the crux of what you're going to deliver on the workshop, but there's a few things that are bumper ends that you want to include as well, which is you show them the bigger model, and you talk about how you're zeroing in, and you give them the offer for how, like, if you want to dive into this, here's what your next step would be to dive in. You do that right at the beginning, right? That's the mid-ticket offer sort of framework, right?
Yeah.
And then you do it again at the end, right? Where you just remind them, hey, if you want to dive deeper into this, here's what we're going to be doing next. But you have everything, you deliver really well on everything that you promised that you would give them, right? So there's those portions that are like, mentally, I think of the modules separately, where there's like the training itself, but then there's the structure of how do you deliver a workshop strategically. And there's most of your time is going to be the actual teaching and training and implementation portions, but
Right.
you have these buffer sections that are like the strategy of how it also helps you create clients. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so when you go through a flow of having it build out what you're actually going to teach or train, you need to have it know to bolt on those sections. So it's like when we were talking about doing long form, your offer portion will often stay the same in every long form. It's kind of that
Right.
same idea. Does that make sense?
No.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Good call.
I don't need a pet in my Fortnite right now.
You have to get one.
I have to get one, not right now.
It's your sidekick.
It's my
You wanna
sidekick.
give this- you wanna give this cat?
You can get that cat if you want.
Love it. But
I've got to get one.
you gotta. It's a requirement.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think part of what I would need to do on this process is to find and flesh out those templates, document out that flow, and then show, like, that's, yeah, I mean, that at this point is what my process looks like on my end, is that I'll take the transcript, I'll build out all the scaffolding and documentation as as flows that something like open code can look through, understand the orchestration, and then execute on it.
Yeah.
And that works well, but it's not just uploading stuff. Like, I could run the process through Claude or through ChatGPT, but to do the 80/20 of it, what I typically do is I just say, let me put a lot of work into defining it, and then now go execute on it. And that's where I'm getting good results on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you could do the same thing with N8N pretty readily if it was predefined. If you really, in terms of being able to execute on that.
I mean, just know I'm never going to use N8N. Like, I've got a pretty good programming framework now. Like, I should be able to program it out now.
Right. But I mean that sort of idea of whether it's N8N or whether it's something else, just executing on the idea of, like, right now at least, I'm not seeing a good process that's like you do it on the call, and I don't think you get the end result powerful enough in a simple enough flow through GPTs right now, or even through like a cloud project. Like, there's still a lot of the hand holding that's necessary, I think, to do it. And so you are probably looking at, like, if you wanted to be able to execute on conversation gets readily turned into these things, I think you are probably looking at either an N8N or a coded solution, right? Like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's a process.
Yeah. But what that process looks like is very repeatable. It's, here's the input, take this, get this output, then take that output plus these things and flow it through the next step of the process. So it is very codable.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I don't know if any of that's helpful, but that's the way that I think.
Yeah. And we're thinking through this. I mean, was this helpful for you at all?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, to me, like, sitting down and thinking through the process, like, at least lets me build out. If I could get a transcript that has these things, I know how to build out the system that executes the end result that somebody can deliver on. And like, for me, it lets me know, okay, what do I need to accomplish in a call? What does that call need to look like to result in having everything that's necessary to do the other stuff? Right. And then being able to deploy AI to do it. I think realistically, thinking through, because, like, part of our goal here is also to understand, like, how do we do content jams in a way that creates the meaningful stuff, right?
Right.
I think it is probably doable to have a content jam that creates great short form content by asking the problem philosophy, process, and proof. I think you could have. I think that will result in great stuff. I think it's more of an advanced process to turn that into the full training. It's like all the DNA is there, but it's there's a decently involved process, either through coding or through a human running it through the steps, if that makes sense, to turn it into the training that you're looking to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think realistically for content jams, it's like that baseline thing can be the thing that either creates short form can create long form, but long form is advanced. Does that make sense? Like it's not it's not it'll take a more robust solution to whether through human capital or through like a software process to get that end result. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I might be wrong. Like, I don't know, but
No, I think you're right. And it, like, I mean, that's what I've built. You know, like I've got I don't know if I told you, I got the Facebook ads automation duplication working now, which is pretty cool.
nice.
So when people upload like the images,
Right.
actually I'm using AI to like tag the images and rename them to like that way they're not just DS653.
Right.
And make them the correct format because they got to be JPEG or PNG.
Right.
I'm also pulling the testimonials directly from Google Maps now. So
Nice.
that's automated and formatting them. And so I've you can go to Chloe's. Stay together. And so like I'm building these these pipelines now. Like I've got a really good system to do that. And you know, this is kind of the next part of it. Is it's funny, like I tell almost everyone to do duo videos because that's easiest. And I also think, you know, Adam Scheibel, one of the things he says is if you do podcasts, you actually need to do solo videos. You need to do these long form trainings, even if it's just 15 minutes. Like that's like that is one of the best things you can offer to create sales, right? Because I mean, that's what, like, I don't know of anything that works better to create pre-sold sales than these things. Do you?
No. Yeah, I mean, I mean, especially when you're really clearly focused on a key outcome where it's like, you want this thing. Let me show you a process to get this thing. And really it's when you have a powerful enough offer, the more time that somebody spends with you, the more likely that they are to, you know, to be open to you as your solution, right? Like, really it's just a question of how well connected is what you're presenting to what they want, and like, do they understand it? Because like at that point, if they spend a lot of time with you, you know, from like the like switch, like their trust of you goes up drastically just by spending time with you. So the long forms end up being necessary. They end up being necessary for you to more clearly pace somebody through a process to say, you know, here's where you start, here's what you do next, and get them that outcome. Because you don't get that as much through the conversation. You get like, you get insights, but processing the insights into a now what do I do to take action creates a very vague and fuzzy thing that is part of what people really pay to get past, where it's like, let me just implement the thing. And so when you can hand them, like, that's what the long form stuff ends up being. It's you hand them the step by step by step. Here's what you do. And that's either, you know, you could either do that in a video that is like a, you know, 10 to 15 minute video, or you could do that in like a workshop or a training, depending on how detailed you dive in and all of that. But it's that same process of you're taking something fuzzy and making it really actionable. And making something actionable is what gets them some level of that result in advance, where they're like, okay, this worked, the next thing's probably going to work too. But yeah. And then the other elements that we're playing with right now are AI is making everybody able to look more professional, sound better, have more consistency to their posts and their output. And so the other thing that I think is really key right now is, I have done this. It worked for me. It's worked for people that I've helped people with. Like, being able to convey that, the more that happens, the more likely they are to believe that it'll work for them too. And that it's not just another thing that's going to disappoint. right? Because
Right.
people are more and more going to be experiencing those things that have disappointed.
You're right.
Because people are able to produce a lot more at this point. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really helpful. And kind of like, so my thought with this is, there's a bunch of other stuff to kind of deploy with this. I'm going to invite our BNI group to the training on Tuesday. If you're available Tuesday at noon Central, it'd be great if you're there too.
Perfect.
And because I mean, it's the power partners, like
Right.
like what's cool about like what I'm teaching is like how to do duo videos to create power partners, which it's leverage because you're targeting people that can bring in 100K.
Right.
What we've just gone over, the long form, that's leverage in one to many.
Right.
Like what a 1-2 punch there. Like that's
Right.
why you do a video, solo video.
Right.
And I mean, and what's cool is with the duo videos, you're creating content that builds the trust that gets more people to sign up for your long form.
Right. Right. Yeah. Cause like it's not like a one or the other. Your duo videos will create trust. They'll build influence, but like, really a lot of what they do is they build potential, and your long form gives you a place to like channel and direct it, right? Where you can make it really clear, make it really actionable. And so you build a lot of opportunity through the duo videos, through the content that comes out of it. And through like the relationships, especially that come through that process of developing relationships with people like that. But the solo videos are where you could really like laser focus, point people toward a direction, and answer those questions and clarify that ambiguity for people.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty much impossible to do that through a conversation unless it's really well structured. Like the way, honestly, that's my approach that I do on webinars when I'm serving as an MC and helping clients do it is I give them the power of the ease of doing a duo video, but with the outcome of the power of the clarity of a solo video.
That's true.
Because we put work in advance to structure the clarity of the flow that we're going to go through. And so I know how to structure the conversation to get them to show up as an expert, to clearly take people through that process where we're going in a clear and intentional direction. It's not a fully impromptu conversation. There's a structure to it. And that's part of why, it makes it so like if you've got somebody who knows how to do that dance, you can do a video with somebody else that still gets you the power of a solo video. The key thing isn't that you're doing it alone. The key thing is that there's a clear direction and purpose to what you're doing, that you're taking people on a journey that delivers that framework properly, right?
Yeah.
But it's the difference between a conversation versus like a structured presentation. But you could do a presentation together. You just have to have somebody who knows how to serve as the co-host.
It's a skill. It's a skill.
Right.
And you'll either have the skill or have a friend that has a skill, or you'll pay for the skill. I mean, people can like hire you to do that. And I do want to say, like, if someone that's watching this right now, imagine if you're stuck on a process like I was today, and hopping on a call with Zach, who like you just pulled out, like you've got so many pieces, like you're able to just like put all this together. Like it's pretty amazing that like whatever process they have, you've got the mind to be able to, you've probably already put it together, but you can like get down to the nitty gritty, the framework, and rebuild it so it's solid. So you got a repeatable process, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I like the feeling around in the darkness in order to find the actual process is a thing that I'm very used to doing together with people. And it's because I've had to, right? Like I have to build the process up in order to be able to execute it. I don't do well with just like feeling my way through it. Because I know I could do that once and then I'll never do it again. And so
Right.
instead I have to do the process of building the system so that it can be repeated, typically by somebody else. Or that I'm running somebody through that same process that's already been figured out. But yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, there you go.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
So I think to make this process more executable, at least for me, it may or may not be the right fit for you, but to make it more executable for me, the components that I'm missing the planet builder. I'm missing a well-documented overarching structure for the workshop. But I think with those, I could take the conversation that you already had, like with Cassie and with your people, and turn that into the clear, ready to present training, right? That would be the DNA that creates that outcome. So that's part of what this revealed to me was what that flow might look like to have that initial conversation, and then what pieces I would need in my framework to build out everything else. Because I've done it before, but I like the planet builder model for how you present the modules and the training better than what I already had. So that's what I would do.
I love it. Well, I got another call, and let's talk on WhatsApp, and we can set up a time to do one of these so you can create yours.
Perfect. Sounds good.
All right. Bye.
Bye.